Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Pari Rigun Polori. Yev Pari Agak Zohrab Krikor Yev Klara Zohrab Getron. Maybe some of you don't know the writer Krikor Zohrab. He had a daughter, Dolores, and it's thanks to her that this center exists. So she married this wealthy German-American in the beer industry, Henry Levon. And she was much younger than him. He died she outlived him another 40 years and inherited all, his wealth. And she made a lot of endowed institutions and donations to the church and to cultural institutions and really all around the city. After her parents' names and after her husband and things. So it's thanks to her we have this center, which is also Armenian Research Library, and we put on events about once a month. If you're interested in following, we have a website, zohrabcenter.org, and an Instagram, and we're going to try to do this about once a month or so, like a literary sort of gathering. And if you are yourself a writer and you brought something, or maybe you have something to read, we'll have a little time at the end for kind of like an open mic type thing. There's no mic, but open table. And you can read, I'll invite you at the end. And that way I can get to know some new people as well, and then maybe in a future time we can have like a new lineup of people. So just make sure you stay in touch so we can keep this kind of thing going. So this event started because I'd heard about Hrayr's new book, and I was really interested in doing something with this because Hrayr is doing very interesting things with the Armenian language, and he writes in Western Armenian, which there's few, but I would say increasingly more writers in Western Armenian in the last 5 to 10 years than there was 20 years ago, maybe. And he has a PhD in linguistics from MIT, and it shows in some of what he does. So he writes in Armenian, and then he puts everything in transliteration, so if you don't know the alphabet, you can still read and pronounce it. And he also translates it to English. But I read his book, and translates the English into Armenian letters for all the people that don't know the Latin alphabet. No, it's a really interesting move because it's just a destabilizing force where it makes your mind like, oh, what? And part of what Hrayr is doing is going against the obsession that is pervasive in the Armenian school setting, where you must spell everything exactly right, and you have to follow all the grammatical rules and do everything just right because we have a pure, perfect language we're trying to maintain. It's a trauma response basically from the genocide and the catastrophe, and everything was lost. You can see where it's coming from, but it has a horribly negative effect of stifling creativity and making it so that people are afraid to write in their own language, and are scared to write. And so what he's doing is both interesting as a language experiment and as creative work, but also is really important, in my opinion, for just opening up the language to be used in a way without fear and without anxiety about things that you don't need to have fear or anxiety about. What I also found really interesting about his book is that I would say each of the forms of each of the poems are different. It's not just that English is a translation of the Armenian or this or that. Each one is different in its own way, and he writes a lot on Instagram and Twitter and uses emojis, and like that all comes into play in the book too. And there's images and art, and it's a really interesting book. I would obviously recommend it. And so we were planning to do like a book event here, but Hrayr told me like, oh, bad news, all his books are sold out. I was like, I'm so sorry. And so let's get together a group of readers. So we invited others to come, and then hopefully this is the start of a trend where each month we can have like new people. So if you also write, please come talk to me and share contact info. So we're gonna start with Hrayr, and I'll ask each reader. We don't need to do like formal bios or anything, but just tell us a little bit about like where you're from, where you live now, anything else you might want to add, but at least that just we have some kind of idea. And we'll just kind of follow the order as it is here. So, Hrayr.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Zohrab. And thank you all. I'm standing up. Okay, I'm going to read 4 pairs of poems. As Jesse said, I write in Armenian and English, and usually the Armenian first and then the English. Yeah, okay. I'm from LA, I live in SF, I visit New York. It gives me life. Okay. Okay. Ardeva Ashaluisi Mahikne. Areve Gogmen Galusabore. Lusine Shat Kule. Նգարե արևուն հետ ժամանակը մոտ է օդանավ ու թրջուն օրը արդեն սկսած է ավելի լույս քան մութ լույս պետք է համայնքիդ հույսերը հետևե իմիներս թակուն եւ քրանց անտեր ինչ լսեմ քեզ մե գսեմ քեզի համար է հայ լինենք It's the morning twilight Crescent emoji. Sun lights from the side. Moon so cool. Snap. Photo emoji. Rendezvous with the sun emoji soon. Plane and bird started the day. More light than dark. Light needed. Follow your community's hopes. Mine are dragon transphobes. Whatever I hear from you, I say it's for you. We're mirrors. Oink. Okay. One from the book. This is to Torkomji. Horizoni nurp ambere, kedineman gepalpelin, sharagani aliknere, verenal lialusina, mechesal hod aliknere, gehavasara geshrengor, yeger askes kisher megugesin, ashkar lusinin bitchavare, asank kisherner, mashrotsner gehorinen, inch yerk, Josh, Mash, inch bar, nachniner nis, asank kisherner gnein. To Torkomji. Tender clouds on the horizon, glistening like a stream or brook. Waves of the hymns, full moon beams above, weed waves within, balancing out. Apparently, at 1:30, the earth emoji will eclipse the full moon emoji. There are nights when Da Vinci's create. What did our ancestors song, food, dance on nights like these? And then I'm going to read 2 poems from my upcoming 2nd volume. That's more on language play. Okay. Guze Girk Navil, Hayrena Hajali, Hap Hajali, An Yerevagayali, Gas Ganach, Gap Ganach, Gapis Ganach, Tepterin, Sepsev, Gas Garmir, Musmut, Gaskalor, Supsur, Nip Nihar, Arak Arak, Mek Mek, Zuik Zuik, Echarech, Echech, Quinus Queen, Kharni Khurn, Maner Muner, Zag Zug, Susik Pusik, Barab Sarab, Fish Fish, Pis Pis, Dizdizal Kirkarel, Derev Merev, Pan Man, Faraz Maraz. Wants to be repeated, pleasant Armenian emoji. Oh, so pleasant, unimaginably so. Deep green, broccoli crocodile 2nd volume. Canary yellow, jet black, blood red. Pitch black, circular AF. Knife sharp, thin AF. Quickly, one by one, paired, page by page, colorful, whirly twirly, teeny tiny, looking emoji, emoji, empty jar emoji, emoji, emoji. These things and things, more and more. Okay, and the last one. It was my birthday last week, and so I wrote this for my birthday. Հարևներ, ծաղիկներ, դարեթարցս է, լուսին նալի և ավակ չորեքշաբթի է, իմ քիրքիս մասին մտածեք, նվեր ինձի, գուզեմ ասեք, մեգուն որ գիտեք, որ խորերեն խանթավար է, որ տրամդա, երկրորդ հադորը դպվի, առաջին հադորը վերադպվի, կպնդրեմ հովանավոր, շաղիգին և ապրիլին համար, մեկ խծպը խնամի ծարով հանրեգամ, մը կդեք, առաջարգելու, գայլ է գուզե և կարող է հովանավորելու. And if you want to see the emojis. So yeah. Okay. Hello, flowers. It's my birthday. Full moon emoji. And it's Holy Week. It's Holy Wednesday. Think of my book as a gift to me. I want you to tell someone you know who's deeply excited to give money emoji to print the second volume and reprint the sold out first volume. I'm looking emoji for a sponsor, for Amy, the artist, and Abril, the printer in Glendale. Find one close, one to suggest to, who might want to and can donate. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. That was great, Hrayr. That was wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. It feels so cool to sit at the desk. I love that. My name is Alina, and I'm gonna read from this. I was recently in a degree program where I was studying communication design, and we had to create a little nonfiction piece about a recipe that has been dear to you, and kind of bind it in a book, and also like typeset it and everything. And so I chose those dishes tadik. Well, it's not a dish; it's a side. Tadik. It's like bold letters, because when you have tadik, it's like that's what you're eating on the table too. It's like very important. So I'll read this, and it's the first time I'm reading it out loud, and then I'm going to read some poems. You don't know how your tadik will turn out until you flip the pot at the end, while everyone is watching. If it's burnt, you can put the pot back on and walk away. Everyone still cheers regardless. The work is done. You did it. Now you either eat the rice or you leave it. What you want is a nice crusty rice cover over the non-burnt rice after you lift the pot away. It's the perfect combination of all the ingredients: oil, butter, salt, and thyme. And basmati rice. When you have it right, everyone will gush over the crispiness of the exterior with the rice sticking to each other and the flow of the rice that remains separated. Usually, you don't want your food to burn, but with tadik, you should get it to burn just right. My family is from Iran, so I grew up eating Iranian food. At dinner, guest asked my parents, "This is delicious. Is this Armenian food?" And my mom responds, "Yes, Iranian food." The more I look at Google search images of tadik, the more I think it resembles a circular form of yellow and white and orange pixels. It's like someone glitched the rice, if glitching the rice meant burning the rice. It could be that I'm very focused on digital right now and not very interested in writing about food. I'm bridging that gap by transforming the food into something that exists on the internet in its own form. But why does the rice look yellow and orange? The saffron, oh yes, that needs to be included in the ingredients list. Also, I guess some people add yogurt, but who can maintain a standard ingredients list that stays the same? Nobody, which is why our food is so tied in with our culture, how we pass the recipes down and who we pass them down to. Food, like language, gets modified. Like memes, recipes change slightly every time they're used, and those changes accumulate over time to form new recipes. Some people use yogurt, but my grandma never did. Some people simply rinse their rice to get the starch out, but my grandma soaked it for hours, massaging the water and the rice and studying it. And this went on for anything she made for dinner, and she would start this process right after breakfast. One meal ends and another begins, but for the complicated dishes, the planning spans many days, with meals coming and going, and the complicated ones still being arranged. It's like their opacity is on and they continue being planned while lunch is quickly thrown together. Some people use yogurt, but my grandma never did. She used a lot of butter, like a lot, and it was delicious. But you could taste it, and I could tell because my mom never uses butter, or maybe she does, but not as much as my grandma did. This is the story of how you make tadik, or how you serve it with other dishes. But it's not a side dish, it's the main course, even though there are many main courses. You can also make tadik with thinly sliced potatoes, or lavash. Instead of having the rice burn on the bottom of the pot, you add potatoes or lavash, and the rice burns just the same way. My great aunt Takush says their side of the family aren't writers and didn't keep records, except one person who had everything down in a book, years, names, locations, but the book was lost. It's harder to recover exact dates and times and locations, and it's easier to pass down stories and recipes. Once I told Takush that she had made a delicious meal. She replied, "Everything is delicious when you're hungry." Recipes vary from family to family and from generation to generation. My family is Armenian, but my parents, grandparents, and most of my extended family were born in Iran. We make tadik as if it's part of our culture, but I guess it is. But I wouldn't dare tell Semi Nosrat, a famous Iranian chef, that our recipe is the way to make it, because it isn't the way. There is no one way to make it. There are multiple ways to glitch an image. And then there's the recipe, in case you want to know. So, kind of to transition from that, I have a collection of poems where, so my family is Armenian from Iran, and I grew up speaking Armenian, and it was only when I started to say to myself, hey, I'd love to learn Iranian, and I could always ask my parents for help, and I was studying the vocab list, and I realized I know most of these words, especially fruits and vegetables, and just like, I put together a whole list of words that are just like in our vocabulary, and I came up with about 100 words, and so I wrote these poems and added those words in, kind of sprinkled in, and I don't translate them or anything, and if you don't speak Iranian, Persian, or you know, it doesn't matter, it's just kind of for the sound of it, and whenever they've been published, they're just kind of like italicized. So home is a paperclip you bend towards, so I'll just read like a few of them. The language I'm learning I've already known, like bottom John curtains and former vowels. I speak khub except when I didn't know. The language I'm learning has been on my tongue before, like shalvar when I'm hungry, or favorite shirts worn to bed. The tut farangi you repeat to yourself while falling asleep. Take me to the conditional unknown. I'll kholase the books while waiting for you. Let's go home, the rice is ready. Also, one other thing, I speak Armenian to my son, and my mom was like, why are you using, does anyone here speak Eastern Armenian? Sorry, I'm like, okay. I was saying like chaman as a, you know, grass, and she's like, why are you saying that? It's khot. You know, I'm like, well, I would have to like relearn my Armenian in order to like know that, like for khot we would say weed, so why would I call it grass to my son? Like I would be speaking two different languages in my head when I speak to him, and so he has to just learn my Armenian, and this is just what it is. Like I can't take those words out. Turquoise portrait inside an apricot tree. If I eat enough lavashak, I'll be made a queen in the forgotten forest. But there are no forests in Kahu Place. I speak in idioms so you will understand me. Everything is real next to the Torshi moon. That's what I told myself one Khotkar afternoon. We see ourselves in ourselves, and when we buy Havij, we see ourselves again. I look like everybody in my family because we all wear hats on the same holiday, and our hilltops are stolen and golden underneath the abacus sky. And I'll read one more. Sailing a ship in space. I'm reminded of Aram Ronaldo's Lighght. Light. What beauty and fleeting joy to be able to Jafari movement. The charid is in the basics, but the basics aren't keef. To place a plant on a table, to wonder why the stars shake. Aram Ronaldo is Armenian, just like the hat on my head. We walk in serenades and feel happiness warp into science. This is the year Rayhan is real. Wanting to feel warmth, I turn towards it, shielding my eyebrows. Aram Ronaldo's light is an ever-expansive sunset peeking through the blinds. Have you traveled a dozen oceans? Do you Zaytun planets? Hello, sun. This is a very nice day for you, and for me, and for you too. Thank you so much.
I'm Aram Ronaldo, and I grew up in San Francisco, Berkeley, went to the Armenian school. My family is Palestinian, Armenian, and half of my family is not Armenian. Happy to be here. And I think I'm just gonna read this one thing, but I have like 2.5 little show and tells. I'm also a fan of mini-sized things, but okay, so this is lyrics from a song that I wrote, and big surprise, it's called Zirani Zari Ziran, and it's on the internet somewhere. But I've been trying to collaborate more and connect more and like do more. I can do stuff on my own, but I want to connect more and collaborate with other people. So I went from this Zirani Zari Ziran song to doing some collaboration. It was like 2019. Then in 2021, I got to collaborate with fun people, so it's been nice. So I'll read like the stuff section by section, and this got picked into there's a magazine called Hybrid Magazine. They're pretty cool, so they picked this. There's also a magazine called Hyphen Magazine, which I collaborated with. I'm always cross-promoting everything that I possibly can. Okay, I'll read this, so section by section, and then I also like to do the translation, and it also has transliteration, if you ever look it up on hybridmagazine.com or something. Okay. Tursa, Luisa, Shudo, Gerta. Outside, the light quickly goes. And feel free to, if you want to not correct me, but, interject. A translation. Yeginka lernera batakuin haska. The sky, the mountains, pink, huge. Anushik, Teretsi, Zirani Zari Ziran. Sweet, pretty, apricot tree, apricot. Duna, Chohanotza, Pura Varaz. The house, the kitchen, the oven lit. Charalu, Charalik, Arans Pushi, Vart Chalad. Playing, toy, without thorns there would be no rose. Which is, Arans Pushi, Vart Chalad was my grandma. My nana's like favorite thing to say all the time about stuff. I always like to, anytime I can bring up nana, it's like good stuff. Hamo, Hodo, Zirani Zari Ziran. Tasty, and then I originally have it as smelly, but I think like smellful is more word, but I don't know, or other words like that. Apricot tree, apricot. Mikich terin, Naranchakuin, Zirani Zari Ziran. A little bit yellow and orange, apricot tree, apricot. Bidikam, Bidikan, Bidikas, Hedo Gertas. I will arrive or come. They will come, you will come, and then you go. Sirdus ver, Sirdus var, Sirdis mech, Ziranita. My heart up, my heart down, inside my heart, apricot tree. Anushi, Keretsi, Zirani Zari Ziran. Sweet, pretty, apricot tree, apricot. That was that. And just a teeny show and tell is, well, this is my Pararan, and I'm obsessed with it. It's from 1976, I think Beirut or something, and it has Morakuiri, little something about 1985 inside. But I like cuddle with it, and I'm obsessed. It's by my bed, and I'm like, I need to know something. It's Western, so. But my sister lived in Armenia and got me all like, we went to Armenian school with like both, so I like the both. But, so this is my little current zine that I made, mini zine. It's called Philistines, Book of Byzantine Sorcery Mini Activity Pack. Available now at Blue Stockings Bookstore for $1. Or online they have it for a PDF. and it's just like little games and stuff. But one of them is also a recipe, surprise, for mamul cookies, and it has the ingredients here and then inside the how to make it. I don't know if anyone's made it or had it. I'm a fan, personally. But then I just translated the ingredients into Armenian, which was just for me, for fun. But I think one other thing I need to bring up that I'm obsessed about is, I don't know if I brought it, or maybe it's somewhere else on my bag. Oh. You can mention if you want, Hrayr. This Armenian Creatives thing where there's, what's the title of it? The Vanya Nadirov translation into Armenian booklet.
The poem that I translated?
Yeah, but what's the name of the booklet overall? Armenian Creatives published.
It was something, the translation.
Some translation thing that Maher, who was a great
It just-
person, check him out.
I also know the title off the top of my head, but
Yeah, I just got a copy yesterday, but one thing that I think it was Kami, who's another part, like I like this overlapping of ourselves in this community circles are overlapping. That it just says, here's a list of words I had to look up in the process of translating that I find very cute. And they're so cool. So if you ever find a copy, I don't know how to get one other than I have a copy. You want me to like text you stuff or Instagram message you stuff. What's my favorite? Orientations. Gohmanorosumne. Oscillations. No. Shurchana. Anyway, I need to do some Armenian homework. I went to pre-K until 8th grade, but that was my, yeah. And then I had one piece, but I think it's gonna be in the next Armenian Creatives booklet. So that's a lot of me stuff. If you wanna look up my Instagram too, it's like, I cross promote with Blue Stockings. I don't know if anyone's been there, but I'm totally obsessed, even when they don't carry my stuff. So that's me, and thank you for listening tonight.
Okay. Hello again. As a poet, I'm not the organizer. I'm Jesse. I'm from San Luis Obispo, California, and now I live in New York. I'm the director of the Zohrab Center here. So I do my creative work in Armenian, and I'm gonna read from a book of poetry that I'm writing now and am a little over halfway done with. And so I'll be reading it in Armenian. It's called Mehenakirk, which is basically, Mehenakir is hieroglyph in Armenian, so book of hieroglyphs. So, Mehenakir կգոչվի եւ յուրաքանչյուր բանաստեղծությունը մեկ մեհենակիր ունի, որ առնչված է բանաստեղծության հետ, բայց ոչ շատ ուղղակի ձևով անդրադառնալը պիտի այդ առնչությունները անե։ So, yes, հինքա պիտի կարդամ, առաջինը Uncle, կգոչվի vulture. Եվ ասի առաջինն է քիրքի մեջը։ Զնունդ առանց այլևայլի գծնիս թունզիս, լուսանցքին կարծանա կրվիմ, հագող նախկին հրաշակորձ քիրիտ, ծկտող թևի այլուր չքո, աղաղագող, Օփուրկ անհաս, աշտանակ քեպնագան, բաշարե բարուրե բադե մանրակիրես, ըստ քու պատկերիդ ու նմանության։ Երկրորդը որ պիտի կարդամ, մինի խորհրդանշան է, մին եգիպտացի ասված մներ եւ իր խորհրդանշանը ասեր։ Սիրուցան ոսկե թաշտ, այս տարաշխարին մեջ սերմանված, երգիր փարի կփուսնին, վայթե վրաս, չուրը թբրության, արմատներս լեցուր, ուժովը կենսական, որբեսի ձլին, ներքև, էյուիթի, արևուտ։ Hachorta tzak. Kantani Bistiga tzak. Senyaget ners. Gochadzesis. Peitches tsevanar. Shunchet anush. Amenur gazavali. Peitches haitnevir. Zainovet gajanchnam kez. Ninch marminovet kez gazadzges. Yereve, Jose, Havorte, Aspandrovin. Okay, Hatrota Mav. Vosketash Pilur Nerun Vara, Hadig Neres Gatsanem. Chash Nerun Antmech, Galni Nerun Shukindag. Yesem Horakordze Norashcharim. Missionim Kankak Nerun Rovanch Nerun Michev, Horovel Gerkem Goverus. Zanok Danavo Tarm Choder, Urlorer Andarper Bort Kapandren. Yesem Hoviva Voske Nahankim. Okay, Verchina Vorbidigatan Kyuch. Yev Asid Sonvadze Yev Kurvadze im Babais Med Mama im Asim or Ichme Kuvener or Harpiti Gomerne. Yeragnerus Mech Kasahis Inchbes Kasahir Hon Ichmei Churhori Koven Hakustit Mech Turvads Ziraniner Pernelov Hova Yeresit Kabidun Bazo Urge Hoda Imam Bayildei Yertikan Turs Pachalov Kez Gaharavire Ners.
First, I just want to say like how wonderful this is. I feel like being in spaces like this is like good for my soul. Do you know what I mean? So I'm Lillian. Grew up in Los Angeles, moved to New York to pursue journalism. But my big love is creative writing. So I'm really excited I get to share some of my creative work with you today. So I'm actually going to be reading a couple of unpublished poems today, so very exclusive. So this first one I wrote actually on New Year's Day in 2021. So very much like middle of the pandemic when things were, still really bad. And so I wrote this poem sort of about all the fears that we were all dealing with about the pandemic, but also at the time I was getting ready to come out to my parents. So this is about both of those things. It's called Old Pains and New Remedies. I woke up this morning with the old pain at the side of my neck, clambering to bathroom, gripping edges of furniture so as not to faint again. White desk and matching princess bed, resembling something I used to know, tinged with unfamiliar red. Light hurls through window, cracks open above eyeballs like every morning. My brother told me while sitting on sofa something else I used to know. That light moves with direction and purpose. My neck is snapped, head twisted backward to face everything I used to love, vanishing behind the glass. Final moments of my dream swirling down the drain. My face freezing into reconciliation. Slide fingers along reflection, press to side of neck, swirl so that pain spreads to jaw and temple, and image melts into grimace. Teeth dislodge, tears drop, clogging sink with old fears. What will they think when they know? Lather neck, coat skin with new armor against new fears. Where can I go to protect myself? But soap cannot coax my head to swirl forward, wizened into silver skin, irritated by excess scrubbing. Yet I am staring at a patch of light above my eyeballs, same color as my mother's, something somebody used to say. It is not there by accident. Recalling nothing before water splashed my face, pain hooked my ear to demand, what will she say when I tell her? My mother enters the bathroom, holding a box. I brought you this to help soothe your neck pain. Let's use this year to heal. Wow. The second one, this is a love poem. Okay. This is called Still Hope. Who do you want to be when the world ends? I will be on my way, scraping the subway seat with shorn fingertips, sprinting from one stop to another where last night you shook your head like a wet dog and nuzzled my neck. Maybe I will thrill you again tonight, I will think, and a blast of ice will freeze me into a sculpture ready to tip, like a roller coaster stuck before the drop. I will be halfway to love. My heels lifted and back arched forward in the shape of hope that will never extinguish. But before it does, although it might not, even while we live, I'll write, who do you want to be with when the world ends? Because I want to be with you. A quick plug that I do have a poetry collection. It's called Journey to Data. You can purchase it at Aubrey Bookstore.
All right. Wow, you guys are going to be a tough act to follow. Work tonight. My name is Sharisse in English, or Sharisse in Armenian, and I'm a writer, a filmmaker, a grad student, and a teacher, so I'm very used to sitting at a desk like this. It's no problem at all. The first poem I'm going to read, if I can pull it up. This is one that was published in the Armenian Weekly in 2021, and it's kind of about the Artsakh war, but the feelings of one of the things that I like to touch upon, I have some work that is Armenian related and some that is not, and the work that is Armenian related, I really like to focus on the human factor, because I feel like a lot of literature surrounding Armenian culture has to do with politics almost all the time, which is great, not knocking that, but I feel like it's very easy to sometimes forget the nitty gritty of like everyday Armenian life, like, you know, the relationships between family, friends, people's like inner hopes and dreams, all those things. And so I either write about it from that perspective or from the perspective of someone who feels like sometimes they don't necessarily fit in with what an Armenian should be, or like feel like they know enough about the culture to really be a part of it. And so this poem that I'm going to read now, it's called Greenhouse Effect. Its themes mainly have to do with war, and specifically I was thinking of the Artsakh war, and definitely the conflicting feelings that, you know, the narrator in this poem, being an Armenian American, would have, being so far away from their ancestral land and kind of being confused about what to feel and how connected they should feel. Okay. Greenhouse Effect. A 20-something sits on an exam table in Midtown. Her blood pressure is perfect, as it should be. Youth is wasted on the young, who pay rent for foxholes, lose their virginity to the bomb, and go on blind dates with doctors. In disputed dirt, children grow without pesticides, hurting for hydration, always at the mercy of falling rocks. Here, they are sticker-ridden, climate-controlled, choking under changes in pressure, the fruits of 2 time zones that never touch. One man turns off the evening news. Another closes the curtains. One boy shaves his face for a school picture. Another for his general. One woman plans her wedding. Another cancels hers. In the fresh ruins of ancient conflict, 2 little girls play restaurant. One girl makes a chocolate milkshake, something she's seen on dubbed television shows set in cities where the sky drops choices instead of final decisions. You can't drink that for breakfast, her friend scoffs. You can in New York, the girl asserts, mixing mud and asbestos with her fingers. She hums a theme song. The bass notes ring like aftershocks. So that's one. I'm gonna go to my Google Docs, see if I can pull up the other one I wanted to read. Oh, and one of them just popped up. Okay, so this one is very short. I wouldn't even say it's like totally ready, but that's fine. I felt like sharing it anyway. This was, so I'm in grad school, and one of the things that I was working on with the professor was writing, it was, you know, writing a chapbook of poems. And in this one, I was writing a chapbook about something else, which you're going to hear about in one of the other poems I read, but I guess I'd finished with that and I want to try like a new project. So I was writing this long poem about the Iranian Revolution, which impacted me as my family is from Iran, though we're Armenian. And, but it really wasn't working as a long poem, so I decided to break it up into like 4 or 5 little poems and put them all together. So this one is called New Normal, 1980, and it's about the Iranian hostage crisis. Ribbons are a call to action, right? Everyone has seen them by now, those sunny sickle cells withering in the wind. What can little threads of saffron do after they've already bloomed at the first jolt of hot water? After a while, their pigment pales, like a wife's will to stay up late waiting, a wooden chair left out in a storm, a ghost at a Little League game, or a face secluded from the sun for several seasons. That's one. Now find another one. I have so many like random finished and unfinished poems in here that I'm sorry, it's gonna take a little bit to, I got, okay. So this one is, it's not an Armenian related poem at all, but it was published last year in a journal called Silver Spark Press, which I think they're in print now, but at the time it was only an online thing. And this one was inspired by the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and it got me thinking about looking at how can I look at this issue from a perspective that I don't think people have already thought about. And I thought about looking at it more from an adoption perspective, because I feel that, well, I'm not adopted personally, but a lot of the adoptees I know, one of their biggest issue with how adoption is portrayed in literature or film or TV is that it's almost always presented as like a happily ever after, perfect, almost romanticized issue, when we know it's a lot more complicated than that. So I thought about it from that perspective, and I remember that now I'm obsessed with music, and Stephanie, my friend, knows that. So I thought of Joni Mitchell, who, as some people know, gave up a child for adoption before she was famous because she couldn't afford to support the child. So this is called Paved Paradise, and there are a lot of like Joni Mitchell, like little bits and pieces of lyrics in it. So if you know the music, I hope you like recognize them. As I, at 20, watched my body for warning signs of a new existence, I thought of Joni, who, at 21, lay in a Canadian hospital where crooked caretakers bound the breast of unwed mothers to suppress their milk supply. With shaking hands, she let go of Little Green and signed a paper promising her a childhood of private schools and country clubs, inconceivable to someone simply surviving. Soon came the success, the cash, the chemical happiness, the crowds clamoring to get close to her. But still, sometimes, sitting in stage wings, she imagined she could hear the breaking and the breathing of a memory game card daughter searching for her match as the radio carried a voice from a famous California canyon, a maternity ward for a generation's greatest hits. I wonder how the landscape would have looked had she instead chosen to be a prisoner of the white lines on the road to ballet practice. When she told the coyote she had no regrets, did she remember the motion sickness of feeling the world turn on a silent birthday? Never mind. After her, there were millions of women, each with an empty space to fill in, where the music napped peacefully during their confusion years, before they bore their own girls, whose futures and freedoms lie, once again, in the hands of men, old enough to remember when she sang about looking at life from both sides now. And that's my second to last one. My last one, oh, thank you. A lot of Joni Mitchell fans in here. I was thinking, well, I'm glad you liked that one. My last one is going to be this is from the chapbook I was mentioning before that I hope I actually finished. I kind of abandoned it for a little bit in other pursuits. But this is a chapbook that I was working on with the professor about, I base a lot of my poems and different things on fictional characters, as you can probably see, and real ones. I mean, as you saw, Joni Mitchell, obviously a real person, but this is, I created this fictional character of a girl who is leaving home, and it's told for this chapbook, and all the poems are told from like the perspective of different members in the family, like the mom, the dad, and all that, and this particular poem is told from the dad's perspective, and it's taken from the chapter of the chapbook where basically he's looking at a series of photos of his daughter from throughout her life, and this is one from her teenage years. It's called Photo Number 2, Green Hair, May 2013, Mr. D, in parentheses, that's dad. Nothing gold can stay, I've heard, especially when it's dyed, nuclear neon from the root down. This is how you burn that which is hereditary. Your mother clawed at the sink with her sponge, cursing chemicals, counterculture, and me, because I let you do it. The smoke point of my patience surpasses that of a monk on fire. Almost every president we've had was a father himself, and surely knew the pain of picking battles. At some point, they understood why the men in Strangelove learned to stop worrying and love the bomb. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to all the readers. That was really beautiful. There is time. We limited ourselves to like 5 to 6 minutes so that there could be time for people who came that aren't on the lineup but maybe want to read something. So would anyone like to do that? Lily, I don't know you, but I feel like you should come read something. While you're thinking about it and others are thinking about it. This is a shelf of all free books. We get us and Nasser and some of the other Armenian libraries, we get constant donations of books, Armenian related books, and we can't keep everything. So come up here and see if you want anything, before leaving, books in Armenian and English. There's like an almost complete set of Rafi's novels. If you're so inclined, you can make a donation, but they're free, so you could take. But we do have a donate thing on our website, or you could approach me to support things like this in the future. But please take them, because they're orphaned Armenian books that need a home. And everyone that donates here just wants the books to find a good home. So you'll make everyone happy. And me, who has to deal with this space issue. Lily or anyone? Yeah, come.
Okay, hi everyone.
Hi.
I'm Lily. So this poem I wrote a few months ago. It's short. It's called Amot. It's part of a series, I guess, I've been working on. I think it'll be never ending. My priest once told me that the word hell does not exist in our Badarak. We're not big on damnation, not like the Catholics, who utter the word like a tick. Words fall down when the mouth thirsts. The Inuit have dozens of ways to say snow. Necessity breeds craft. And we've refined Amot, carved and molded her hideous frame, smoothed her ridges, dipped her in wine. Ah, Anai. Our communion is soaked in blood and shame. Deidheid could not count how many times light appears, Luis, which sits next to Huis, hope. We once called ourselves children of the sun, Arevorti, or more accurately, worshippers of the sun, before he scorched us. There is no hell in the divine liturgy, but who needs a word to say what we felt in the soul, in the Hoki? Light enters through the book, through the vibrations composed by a man who left his soul in the desert and expired in a psych ward where ghosts cling to the lost. Ah, Gomidas, Hazaram, 1,000 shames cast upon the sand. Amot is never alone in an Armenian church. She slumps on our shoulders and quivers in our breath, like mine right now. For 2 hours every Sunday, we stew in Amot together, the incense burning our nostrils, casting our collective sculpture. Catholics can't understand this. To them, Amot is a soul experience. To the Armenian, it is the soul of the art carried inside each of us. Amot means shame, by the way, but I think everyone here knew that.
I'm being sent up. I might as well take this opportunity to grab a glass of wine and to say, adoption is complicated, I hear. I'm going to read you a translation that I wrote recently for a poem that I wrote in 2018, I believe. So I'll read it in Armenian first, and then you can have it in English, in the original. The title is Ինչ նրբություն կա մունչ օջախի մեջ Հրաշեգ եղանակ գերքե Դաջարի թարեթար մարած գրակ Փյուրեղ եղեցկո մեջ Արցականքված Սուս քարանցավներ Հիմա միայն մոխրի մնացորդներ բռնած օթամաշտ ցայներ Արգայձում արձած թելեր Ամենամուտ քիշերներու իր բազմությունով լուսավորեն Մեդաքս քիծեր փայլուն իր ժառանգությունի շշունչ Վարգիչնան կամած ու մասնավոր Հրա հոսանք մթեր անբադրաստ, որ իր երագներ զովացնեն, պնդրում, اد որ վարվե, նախածնողքական, հրարիացկի մարմրող ածուխներ։ Ինքը ես, պատկամ անցյալին նայում, հողեն գամուր չհանելու, թեպի աբակայի գրագ, ամենաթույլ լույսնալ, հետևե, թեպի խավարին։ And now the English. She sings in scarlet tones of temple fires long dormant, echoed in crystalline cathedrals, silent caverns, holding now only ashen traces, weathered voices, glimmering silver threads, illuminating the darkest nights with her story. The silken lines glowing, whispers of her inheritance. They descend, slow and deliberate, like a flume of lava, yet unready to let its veins cool, searching for what alights in the shimmering embers of ancestral inferno. She is I, oracle facing the past, unearthing bridges to future flames. Follow into the darkness, even the faintest of lights.
I'll read something.
Please.
But before I do, I wanted to ask, the poem I want to read is about drug addiction. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make that disclaimer. My name is Vanya. Hey. Hey. Okay. This poem is called A Deathly Timepiece. Feeling bland, feeling hurt, feeling death, questioning how I've escaped death all these years. I should have died 3 years ago. Maybe I did and I haven't noticed. Maybe I'm reliving death over and over again until I choose to live. Drug addiction makes death an untimely friend. Yet I feel no fear in her. She has lurked beside me since childhood. I see death everywhere. I see stillness nowhere. I'm late to my job interview because I couldn't get out of bed. I got too high at 4 a.m. and had a panic attack. But at least I'm not dead yet. I have no grasp on time, eternally reliving my past, like I never grew past the age of 15. That scares me. That shakes me to my core. That I wrote like 2 years ago. And May 1st, I'm 4 years sober.
Hi everybody, I'm Seta Mary. I live in LA. I'm here in Brooklyn for about a month and a half until the end of April. Just trying to see what the energy of the city has for me. I'm a writer, medium. I've been like working with the spirit world since I was a kid, but I finally have a practice where I can, I feel grounded and I feel like myself. And I've been writing to cope since I was a kid. And I wrote this poem early January when like the Art South blockade started, and we were creating with She Loves Collective. We were curating a room to uplift the spirit of the martyrs that happened, the martyrs of the Art South War in 2020. So it was an emotional night, and I just allowed my pen to take me, and it did. So I want to share it with you guys. It's called Unwind. It's nighttime and I'm unwinding late into the night. The stars come out so bright. From the homeland they greet me, carrying love, reminding me of my pain. The pain I hold in my chest, the pain that makes it hard to breathe. pain is stuck in my chest. Help, help, I scream. There's no response. No one can hear my help. In this dark, dark night, no one can see me. In this long, long night, no one can hear me. No one can see my pain. I move with my pain. I dance with my pain. I brush my teeth with my pain. I tell myself it's a privilege to feel this pain. The stars greet me like always. They're still out. They're still bright. Whether I see them or not, they shine so bright. It's nighttime and I'm unwinding. To the stars I say goodnight. Thank you.
Well, I'm so glad I opened up the floor for those pieces. Those were really beautiful. Love them?
Hi, I didn't introduce myself. I forgot that part. I was too focused on the wine. Sorry. Hi, I'm Levon. I'm visiting from Detroit. I'm here for an artist residency for 3 months. Hit me up.
Well, before inviting everyone to enjoy the reception, I just wanted to say that a couple months ago, I met with someone who's connected with Holy Cross Uptown Armenian Church, John Simonian, this older guy, who was involved with Torkom Sorbazan, the former bishop here, basically courting Dolores to try to get her to donate when she was making her will. And John told me when we met together for lunch that Dolores imagined this place as like a creative, artistic center that would be a center of like living culture with art and poetry and things like that. And so she would be proud, I think, tonight, and hopefully we'll continue this kind of thing going forward. So thank you everyone so much for coming, and follow us online. We'll have the recording up on our YouTube, and hopefully see you all at a future time. Don't make me take home the cheese.